HARK! We are here. It is time for yet another episode of Star Wars Unlimited. I've got some iced coffee to drink while we talk about this stuff. You should grab yourself a drink too, pause the video, and then come back. But we've got some interesting stuff. We have a leader that nobody expected. We have an upgrade that I think validates a lot of my talk about previous cards, but you can tell me I'm wrong in the comments below once we get to that point. Plus some other fun stuff that came out of the website preview FFG livestream, which we'll talk a little bit about later and maybe go over the website as well. So let's get to the reason why you all are here, and that is previews. Our first preview comes by way of the Unlimited FFG website. That means StarWarsUnlimited.com. It is the card database that this came from. A bunch of people saw it when it went live the day before the actual live stream itself. It was the only preview we got from the stream technically, so just one card, but it's a very interesting card. We have here Carabas, a 2-cost aggression heroism specter event. A friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit equal to the amount of damage on the friendly unit plus 1. This is an uncommon, number 151 out of 252 in SOR. Carabas is the word that Zeb exclaims every once in a while when stuff doesn't go right. It also appeared in Rogue One when the two little dudes, which I actually don't remember their names, Bistan and something else, they were fighting it at Scarif. But the interesting design behind this card is if you have a unit with a lot of damage on it, you can effectively destroy another unit or just deal a ton of damage without having to worry about the crackback on it. This is very similar to Strike True, but Strike True just deals the power, whereas Carabas goes, hey, I've got 5 damage on me. Now you've got 6 damage on you. That's a pretty cool thing to have when it comes to some of the cards that you'll have in these types of decks. Now, this is very clearly a Spectre event, but I think this is one of the events that'll work really well outside of Spectres because there are things in, say, Vigilance that end up with a lot of damage on them. The combination of the Redemption taking a bunch of damage off your base, placing it on itself, and then Carabasting an enemy unit with all that damage that you just placed off of the character while still having a Sentinel in space if your opponent doesn't immediately respond to the Redemption, it's a pretty decent move. There are other things where you stick Resilient and Entrench on things that will allow your Carabas to deal extra damage if that unit has extra damage. Pair this with a Grit unit that already wants damage on it, and you have something that allows you to deal damage without the crackback and then deal more damage on the attack thereafter. Carabas is a very interesting card. I have to wonder if there's going to be a Spectre event for each style aspect. We've already seen the Cunning one, which is Spark of Rebellion. We have the Aggression one, which is Carabas. Do we get a Vigilance and a Command one to basically have the events set for the Hera deck? I have to wonder if the Hera deck itself is going to be a very specific playlist of cards to be successful, and if it is, what does that success look like, and what are the remainder of the cards in the set do to aid Hera as a strategy? Beyond that, Carabas is a very decent card. I haven't decided how many I'm going to run myself, but once we get cards in hand, this will be a very fun card to be able to test in the various different decks that likely want to play it. Next, we have 2 previews from the Danish YouTube channel Papskubber, and I'm sure I mispronounced that, so I do apologize, but a link to their content is in the description below. We have 2 cards here. They are both units, they are both rebels, and they are both relatively interesting designs. So the first one is Regional Sympathizers. This is a 4-cost heroism only ground unit, 3 power, 4 health, rebel, restore 2, common, 243 out of 252 in SOR. Very basic card. The idea is that for 4, it comes out, it has an okay amount of power, an okay amount of health, but its big thing is the restore. If this can survive long enough to allow you to hit that restore, it's going to be very valuable. This is going to be one of the stronger limited cards, specifically for Draft and Sealed, because it is a common. You're going to see this often. It helps the heroism, it helps restore, and it helps rebels, which are all common themes in Spark of Rebellion, obviously. Art is pretty cool. These are very similar to the X-34 land speeders that are in Star Wars Legion, and also the Luke's land speeder that he sold in the very first movie, A New Hope, Star Wars. Interesting card design. Constructed wise, I don't see this seeing a lot of play just because it is below curve in terms of these stats. But if you're looking to build a deck that has as much restore as you possibly can in it, let's say Vigilance, Command, running things like Yoda, Regional Sympathizers, Home 1, just all the restore you possibly can, there is some viability to that in Constructed, but I think this is probably going to be one of those cards that is limited only in its scope. being viable in that specific set of formats. Now, the joke for this next card is that it's Super Laser Technician at home. And while the joke is funny, I do see some very interesting play lines for this next card, which is the Alliance Dispatcher. This is a 1-cost Command Heroism ground unit, 1 power, 2 health rebel. Action, exhaust this unit. Play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. This is a common, number 93 out of 252 in SOR. Alliance Dispatcher allows you to, if it survives, play your next card for 1 less from your hand. The way that this is going to be utilized in most decks is probably going to be heavily utilized in Luke command decks and potentially Han command decks. Reason why for each is that if you drop this on round 1, you can spend your other resource to drop a shield on it. That should pretty much guarantee that the Alliance Dispatcher will survive to be able to allow your next turn to action out a 4-cost card for 3, which can put you ahead in tempo. If you can continue to keep the Alliance Dispatcher alive, you can keep doing that round after round to stay ahead of the curve, much like what Super Laser Technician would do, except Super Laser Technician just gives you a flat resource as opposed to this has to stick onto the field. In terms of Han, the numbers get a little bit bigger. Because Han does allow you to go higher, you can choose to not use his effect on the first round and save it for the next round, Han's effect. Play your Alliance Dispatcher, maybe play another 1-cost, or just take the initiative and move on. And then on your next round, when you have 3 resources, you Han for your 4th resource, and then Alliance Dispatcher, if it survives, can action to bring in something for 5 resources at 4. That puts you 2 rounds ahead, where normally on that turn, Han could only go up 1. I think that the Alliance Dispatcher is going to be a very specific strategy of trying to ramp out, not even ramp out, but cheat out those extra cards that might not be as good at the power level that they're supposed to be, but will be good if they can come out a turn earlier, or just allow you to take the lead and continue to hold the lead as you go further and further into rounds. There will be an opportunity later on in the mid and late game rounds when you could use this for something bigger, when your opponent doesn't necessarily feel like they have to worry about something coming out for 1 less until you go, hey, cool, by the way, here's a redemption a turn early, or here is the home 1 a round early, something like that. This is going to be a target for removal, but if your opponent is removing this and not removing your other key units that are allowing you to push, that is okay. I think this is a fantastic card. It's probably not going to see as much play as Super Laser Technician will, because the heroism side of ramp is obviously very different, but I do think that this will see lines of play as we get closer into people figuring out what constructed looks like as a format in Star Wars Unlimited. Next, we have 3 cards from the Tom and Taha. It's either Instagram or TikTok channel. I'm not entirely sure. It is, it's a Facebook page. Link is down below so you can check it out yourself. We've got 3 cards here, 1 very exciting design and 2 other cards that are very interesting in their placement. So let's start with the units. We have here the 8-cost Command Reinforcement Walker ground unit. 6 power, 9 health, vehicle walker. When played and on attack, look at the top card of your deck. Either draw that card or discard it and heal 3 damage from your base. It is an uncommon, number 119 out of 252 in SOR. Reinforcement Walker is an interesting strategy for command because it allows you to accelerate your draws or heal damage off your base. Both are very good. In addition to what we talked about before with the Restore, this goes right along with that. This can also work with Alliance Dispatcher because it can come out for 7 resources instead of 8 if you prepare your field properly. It's also just a beefy unit of 6/9. It's a little under the curve for power health in terms of the cost, but because of the when played giving you the draw or the heal, and the when on attack giving you the same thing, I think its stats are fine for what it is. Is this going to see a lot of play? Who knows? This is also, again, per other previous conversations, a very good limited card, because in draft and sealed, this is going to be very difficult to pull off the board unless your opponent pulled cards that allow them to deal with these types of things specifically. It's going to take a lot of damage. It's not going to go away easily. And if your opponent waylays it off the board, cool. I just get another when played trigger the next round. Interesting card, very good design space in my opinion. And I think that we'll see 1 or 2 of these people floating around in people's decks unless they're focused on that card draw and the heal. It does come out really late for the card draw, but because effectively it can refill itself or at least stave off death for an extra turn or 2, it is a decent card that I think will see some amount of play. If you've ever wanted to play blackjack in a card game, boy, do I have a card for you. Our next card is Don't Get Cocky. This is a 4-cost cunning gambit event. Choose a unit. One at a time, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you choose to stop or have 7 revealed cards. If the combined cost of the revealed cards is 7 or less, deal that much damage to the chosen unit. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your deck in a random order. That's basically the standard rule for most revealed cards from the top of your deck. This is a rare, number 223 out of 252 in SOR. Again, Blackjack, but Star Wars Unlimited. This is a very interesting design, and I didn't think we were going to see something kooky like this early. I mean, we do have I Am Your Father, but this is something that relies on the knowledge of the amount of cards that are in your deck, as well as what's on your hand, what's in your hand, what you've resourced, and what you've discarded. This rewards knowledge of what you have in your deck and how much damage you need to deal to your opponent's unit. So if you choose, let's say, your opponent has an Imperial Interceptor on the board and you only need 2 damage. You flip the top card, it's an 8 cost. Cool, you just whiffed. But anything that is 2 or higher, you can just stop. But if you're trying to gambit and hit your opponent's leader, which has high health, and you're trying to get that exact 7, that's where the number of costed cards in your deck is going to be very handy. Someone like Thrawn is actually going to be very useful, or a combination of R2-D2 and 3PO, which can continuously know the top card of your deck when they come into play and do attacks. It's going to be very helpful in making sure that you get that extra mileage out of their effects to be able to use them for things like Don't Get Cocky. I think this is an interesting card. This is probably something you're going to see a lot of combo players, not necessarily combo players, but a lot of for the fun of the game players play, because it is a fun card. You play this and you get that exact 7 damage. That's going to be a moment, especially if it defeats a leader, that's going to be a moment both players at the table are going to remember for a long time. I think this is a fun design. This is specifically not designed to be used in limited because it is a rare, so you're not going to see it all that often. And it's probably not designed to be competitive, but it's a fun moment that represents the A New Hope scene here very well. And it also represents the type of player that goes, you know what, let's pull that lever, get that casino going. And this feeds right into that, which I think is a really cool design and very fun to include into Star Wars Unlimited. Our next card is the card, and we're going to hot take territory here. This card is a card that I believe is going to change the meta because of how effective it is, how useful it is, how cheap it is, and how accessible it is. Our next card is called Confiscate. This is a 1-cost, unaspected law event. Its text simply says, defeat an upgrade. It is a common. It is number 251 out of 252 in Spark of Rebellion. Confiscate is a card that says defeat Fallen Lightsaber, defeat Jedi Lightsaber, defeat Traitorous, defeat Shield. You get the point. This is an automatic 3 of in pretty much every person's sideboard and some main boards if people really worry about some of the upgrades that are going to be in the game. And this automatically makes those other upgrades a huge risk in playing, because if your opponent says, hey, that stacked up first brother that you have with a Fallen Lightsaber, 2 experience tokens and a shield, cool, it's 3 cost, I'm gonna pay 5 in Traitorous. And if I have the card in my hand and I go, cool, I appreciate you paying 5 resources for a Traitorous to take that on your side of the board, I'm gonna pay 1, still have the rest of my resources available, I'm gonna defeat your Traitorous and take my card back. Now I am up 4 resources in that exchange, and you just lost tempo by doing nothing for your turn. Traitorous, Fallen Lightsaber, and Jedi Lightsaber are going to be the biggest targets for Confiscate. And while I don't think most people are going to want to do this, confiscating a shield off, because it is an upgrade, is going to be a viable play if it's something that's going to win you the game on the spot, or at least make your opponent have a tougher choice so they can't just, cool, I'm going to ram this into your unit because I have a shield and you don't. This is a fantastic card. This is going to change the meta anytime it's played, because if a person plays this, then your opponent knows they can't get away with putting all their eggs in the upgrade basket. And I'm very appreciative of this card because it does make some of the things that I've said previous a little bit more pertinent, because if you can just 1 cost get rid of your opponent's, if you can for 1 cost get rid of your opponent's blowout card, that is a huge swing in momentum on your side. And then if your opponent chooses to side out their Traitoruses for something better, quote unquote, I mean, it would be better because it's, they're siding out a bad card. Haha. You can still keep this in your deck, not having to worry about it, because this is a guaranteed resource, which is good. I know a lot of people say, well, I can just run better cards. You could just run better cards. but at the same time, having a guaranteed resource opportunity while forcing your opponent to work around it, and you don't have to, that makes Confiscate one of the best cards in the entire game. And I know I'm gonna get lambasted for this. Bring it on. I'm ready for it. But Confiscate is that card. Plain and simple. End of line. Next, we have a leader directly from Unlimited FFG Twitter account. It is our Heroism Vigilance rare leader we've been waiting for, but it is not the person most people expected. This is Cherit Imwe, which I'm sure I said incorrect. One with the Force. Vigilance Heroism. Action. Exhaust this unit. Give a unit +0/+2, so 2 health for this phase. He is Force. He is Rebel. He has an epic action for 5 resources to flip over to a 3/5. He is a rare, number 4 out of 252, an SOR. And we will check out the backside. 5 cost, quote unquote, leader ground unit, 3 power, 5 health, Force Rebel. During the action phase, this unit isn't defeated by having no remaining HP. During the regroup phase, if he has no remaining HP, defeat him. Front side, Cherit wants to be able to give something like a Sentinel or a unit you need to survive +2 health for the remainder of the phase, so that way you can get an upgrade on them to make them survive a little bit longer, or ram them into something else to be able to get the value out of it when your opponent attacks, or you can heal it, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different things to do with this effect. With Cherit's actual leader unit effect, the idea is to stack him up with upgrades so that it's very difficult to kill him. And even if you do, you get your healing things like Repair, or you can throw a shield on him with Moment of Peace, or you throw your lightsabers on him, your Entrenched, your Resilience, or you heal him with It Binds All Things, and because he is a Force unit, you deal that damage to another unit. The idea behind this is to keep this thing alive as long as possible, putting something like Protector on it so it gets Sentinel, so your opponent is forced to attack it, all kinds of different things. It is an interesting card design. I don't believe it's going to be a popular card design. The reason why is that he is understated for his cost. 8 total, not really great for a 5 resource epic action, and his front side doesn't really do a lot to make sure that you're winning the game. Him having Force trait is probably the one thing that's giving me pause, because he is able to use all of those Force cards, and that provides you an opportunity to be able to throw the Jedi lightsaber, to use It Binds All Things, to use Force Throw. You're probably not going to use Force Choke because that's going to cost you at minimum 3, but the interesting design behind this is he just wants to survive long enough to get the goal accomplished. So you have to make sure doing that is worth doing. And given that this guy is removed by a takedown, it's very difficult to see the proper lines of play that will make this a strong leader. I see where the developers were going with this. I don't think his stats support that. I also don't think him being a 3/6 would have broken anything. I don't think him being a 4/5 would have broken anything. I don't think him being a 4/6 would have broken anything. We have what we have, and it will be interesting to see what other players come up with for Cherit decks going forward. This is not a leader that I myself am going to use. If I'm going to go Heroism Vigilance, I'll probably just stick with Luke. But I think Heroism Vigilance is likely going to be built off of a different leader rather than a leader in Vigilance. It's an interesting card design. I'm not convinced it's effective, but I'm willing to be proven wrong because at least it is interesting. And if someone can make it competitively interesting, that would be very fun to see. On January 17th, FFG went live with a YouTube video going over the Star Wars Unlimited website, StarWarsUnlimited.com. Our hosts for that episode were Xander Tabler and Josh Massey. Excellent representation by FFG for that. Always love seeing the both of them on the stream. Normally when these live streams happen, I sit there and I do a quick note taking of what's happening in the stream, or what previews are popping up, what insights the developers were bringing in for the game. This time it was different. A lot of what Josh and Xander showed us for the website, I can actually just show you here. So rather than go over bit by bit everything that they talked about, how about I just go over it myself? Star Wars Unlimited website, StarWarsUnlimited.com, has a brand new face for what anybody else had seen before. Originally, it was just a landing page where you'd press a button, you'd go to news, and you'd have all the cool stuff. So right off the bat, we do have here, they have a how to play button and find a store. There is going to be a store locator that will fill out with more stores as more stores happen. We have the game tab, the events tab, the news tab, We have the store and event locator. We have the card database, which I talked a tiny bit about previously in the Carabas preview. And then there is your language detection. And normally here it would say log in, but I am already logged in, so you don't have to worry about that specifically. On this homepage, a game of unlimited possibilities. We have expand your collection. You can look at the card database or just build a deck. We have the player portal, events, and game rules. We have the featured news, which allows you to view all, but also the 3 most recent articles, which we've gone over a little bit. We have latest products, which showcases Set 1, Spark of Rebellion, and all the products that are tied to that. Obviously, as more sets come out, Set 2, Shadows of the Galaxy, Set 3, Twilight of the Republic, Set 4, Redacted, Set 5, Redacted, Set 6, Redacted, so on and so forth. And then at the bottom here, we have a for retailers portion of the website. If you are looking to get your local game store into Star Wars Unlimited and they haven't already, this is exactly where you need to send the person who deals with that so they know what they're doing. You have your buttons down here for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all the legal stuff. And then just the basic things you're going to see on a website, right? So if we go up to the top here, we have game. Game's got 5 points. Getting started, which is a quick video on the basics of Star Wars Unlimited. We have how to play, which is a deep dive into what it specifically has, the basic rules for the game, the different ways to play the game, and product releases. We're only going to click one of these. If there's anything specifically you want to know more, just head right into the website or check out the live stream where Xander and Josh covered the website itself, both of which will be linked down below. Different ways to play. The most important aspect of this is we see here what the formats are. We have constructed and limited, but they are named specific stuff. We have Premiere, which is our basic constructed format. This is like what you would consider standard or just basic constructed in other games. We have draft play, which is your 3 packs, do the cards, things which we talked about before, and then sealed play, which is you open 6 boosters, build out of that, and then go. And it does specifically tell here that the time for each game of Premiere, which is basically just your one single game, is going to be about 20 minutes. The total time for a draft and sealed event will end up being anywhere between 2 and 3 hours. The games themselves will probably go a lot quicker than regular constructed games, but your actual portion of drafting your deck and then building it, or opening your packs and then building your deck for sealed, those will be the things that are there. We can specifically learn more about what the formats are specifically by Play Premiere, so you can build your own deck. Here's your format overview. Here's resources about what's going to happen. We're having tournament regulations coming up. And then the Fantasy Flight Games master event document coming soon as well. It's actually a really cool image. I'm going to have to rip this. Same thing for draft, same thing for sealed. So that's pretty much all of the information you're going to get out of the game section of the website. In the event section of the website, we have what is organized play, casual play, competitive play, and the event locator. The one that's going to be most important to most of you is going to be the event locator. I'm not going to click that because I'm not entirely sure what's going to pop up when that happens. But if you're looking for an event or a store local to you, click that button, see what happens. Then we have news, which we know what this does. It brings us to this page. We have, again, another button right on the top, store an event locator. It's the easiest thing that's going to be able to find. But the big meat and potatoes for Star Wars Unlimited is, in fact, the card database. The card database is going to do 2 things. It's going to allow you to search for cards, and there's different filters and subtypes and super types that you can use to look cards up. You can build a deck, but you can also just look here at all of the cards that are available. Look, we've got Krennic, we've got Chewie, we've got Leia, we've got Cherit, we've got Boba. We have all the 30 health bases, all the 25 health bases, and then you just start from the beginning to end. Here's all your vigilance villainy, here's all your vigilance heroism, here's all your vigilance, here's all your command villainy, so on, so forth, until the end of time. The build a deck section is here. We can choose to build a deck. Let's say, just a quick example, we're going to build a Vader deck. We're going to add Vader, and then we're going to click this button up here to remove the leader section, so it's collapsed. It's not removed technically. And then let's pick a base. Let's just do, not necessarily try to build the starter deck Vader, but something that is similar to starter deck Vader. So we're going to add the command center here. We're not going to use the energy conversion lab because this is not an actual deck that will play. The next thing you have to do is you're going to want to specifically change your filters so that you're searching for the specific cards you're looking for. So if I want to add 3 Death Star Stormtroopers, I changed my aspect to aggression, and then we'll add 1, 2, 3. There are different things that are about it. You can view the details. You can add cards to your collection. You can add cards to your deck. And if a card has a variant, once all of the cards are known and all of the variants are known, we'll see the variants in these lists. But we do know that aggression has a card and it has a hyperspace variant, and you can add the hyperspace variant to your deck if you want. Or you can add the regular version to your deck, and now you have two different ones. But if we continue adding cards, we'll add 3 First Legion Snowtroopers, we'll add 3 Fifth Brothers, we'll add 3 Seventh Sisters, we'll add 3 Imperial Interceptors, we'll add 3... Actually, let's add 2 Ruthless Raiders. We'll add 3 Emperor Palpatines. We'll add 1 Vader's lightsaber because our leader is Vader. We'll add 3 Fallen lightsabers. We'll add 3 Force chokes. We'll come down here to the regular aggression stuff. We'll add 3 Force throws. We'll leave the rest of this, and we currently right now have 30 cards out of our 50. Next, we're going to want to go to command. We're going to remove these. We're going to go ahead and we're going to specifically add 3 Super Laser Technicians. We're going to add 2 Darth Vaders, which will show down here at the bottom. We're going to add 3 Overwhelming Barrages. We're going to add 2 Devastators. And then we can go down to regular command, which can get us a Yularen, which we don't necessarily need. Let's add 1 Callus. We're at 41. Let's add 3 resupplies. We have 6 cards left available for our deck. Let's just add 3 Strike Trues, because that's going to give us the opportunity to do some things there. And then let's hit just straight villainy. No, it's going to add there. So what we want to do is more filters. I guess we don't have the ability to do that. So we're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom here and get into this. And we have 3 more cards we can add. We're just going to add 3 cell block guards. Now, this is not a perfectly formatted deck, but it is a deck that is going to have Darth Vader as our leader, command center, and then all the units that we added listed. If you were to add certain things to your collection and then you filtered by collection, you'd be able to figure out what you have available. One of the cool things about this is that I can save this deck, which we'll add this. We'll change this deck name to YouTube Test, and then we will save the deck. Deck has been created, and now what's cool is that if you have a deck that you want to share with your friends, or your friends have a deck that they want to share with you, all you have to do is hit copy code. It's been copied to your clipboard, and then you can hit import deck. You'll hit this import, and now it's a brand new deck that's in your system with all the same choices that I have made for building this deck, or your friend has made for building their deck. And you can save it, get it ready to go, and do all kinds of cool things that are associated with that. You can change by card number, card name. You can filter by type, cost, set, format. You can filter by HP, power, arena, trait, which has all kinds of different traits, keywords, which has all kinds of different keywords, arena, ground, and space. We have power. You can filter by a specific number, rarity, common, legendary, rare, starter, uncommon, and then HP. So that's how you build a deck on StarWarsUnlimited.com. This is a beta. There are more features coming in the future. I imagine once the back-end workers are finished adding everything, we'll have more filters. We'll have an easier way to see the spread here of the deck. We might even have potentially, like Flesh and Blood does, or Flesh and Blood technically has a third party that does this, but a deck list creator that allows you to just print the deck list out, bring it with you, submit it for a big tournament, and then you go from there. So there's a lot of really cool things that are associated with StarWarsUnlimited.com, and you should go ahead and head over to StarWarsUnlimited.com and check it out for yourself. It's a really interesting website. Some of the insight coming in from Xander and Josh as they were talking about it was really neat. Definitely go check out that live stream if you haven't. It's not a long one, but it is a very informative one. And that is all she wrote for us this week here for Star Wars Unlimited. A lot of really cool stuff coming out, some great cards, brand new leader with a interesting set of circumstances around building a deck with that character. We'll see if that character gains some steam as we carry forward into the release of Star Wars Unlimited, March 8th, right around the corner, folks. We have less than 2 months, way less than 2 months. I'm excited. I can't wait. I've already signed up for both of my pre-releases, the weekend of the pre-release, the 2nd and the 3rd. So if you're in my area and you see me, say what's up. I might not remember that I asked you to say that. Anyway, we had a lot of fun going over the cards, going over the website, doing all the different things that were associated with Star Wars Unlimited. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about the website, what you think about things that are coming forward. If you have your pre-release already locked in, like I do, let us know if you went to any one of the Cascade Roadshow events. I know there's one coming at the end of February for one of my local stores, and I'll probably head over there to check it out, even if I don't necessarily get to participate, because I haven't figured out exactly what the signups are for that. But it should be interesting going forward. Lots of cool stuff happening. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all of my social media stuff so we can get the word out for not just Star Wars Unlimited, but all of my lovely things that are coming. I do want to do aspect reviews for style and morality and all kinds of cool things coming out. So once the full card list is known, we will be utilizing that to be able to showcase to everybody what each card does in a specific aspect, what I think are the best cards, what I think are cards that are competent, and what I think are cards that are not going to be as good. I might have a drafting guide coming out here closer towards the release of the game or at the release of the game, depending on what information I can get beforehand. But it really all comes down to what's going to be available as we drive into this last long stretch. Not a long stretch, but it's a long stretch. This last stretch of information going into the release of Spark of Rebellion, March 8th for Star Wars Unlimited, and all the lovely things that all of you and myself will be able to experience when Star Wars Unlimited fully comes to our hands, and it should be fun. So, thank you for joining me, folks. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the stars.